Every time I sit in this chair, I wonder if this will be the week that I start believing in lizard people. I've been resisting it for many years, as you know. I always say I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but we reject conspiracy theories at our own peril. And where has that gotten me? Have I retained one shred of dignity? Has it helped me not fall in with the lizard people? You know what? Let's flip the script this week. I'm gonna get your questions out of the way so you don't have to wade through what I'm getting ready to talk about. This is the Gribley's Folly Sunday Antisocial Hour. That time each and every week that I smoke my pipe and complain about humanity while answering all of its questions. And if you are a piece of humanity with a question for me, leave it in the comments down below with the hashtag AskGribs, and I will answer any question, any burning, itching, swollen question that is keeping you up at night. I'm your man. Put it down below. I'm going to do my best to get, for whatever reason, I guess my viral Helene video has come back into fashion. And now I'm getting a bunch of comments on that. I can't find your comment. It takes me a long time. So if I miss something, nag me about it. I promise I'll get to it. Thank you for all of your insight on the phantom presence in the garage last week. Still don't know what that was about. Some people offered to come exorcise the garage. I appreciate that. I might take you up on it. You never know. You're gonna see a lot of my face over here because I'm looking back there. What the hell was that anyway? At DRW9537 AskGribs, maybe a ghost story next week. Once upon a time. No, I can't think of anything good. I mean, I could tell you just a stock ghost story. I could read from Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, which, by the way, still scares my child to. I mean, of course, he's a child. It still scares me to death, is what I'm trying to admit in a roundabout way. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark with the original, non-watered down illustrations, terrifying. And I have my copies from my childhood, which are like a good 90% of the way that I am. That's the end of that sentence. I could have been a happy person, and then I read those books in third grade, and so I kept them to give to my child in third grade, and wisely, my wife kept them away from him until fourth grade, and then we haven't slept since. But I've never seen anything. I've never seen, heard, felt, smelled anything. Well, actually, let's come back to that. I've never had an experience that I could confidently say wasn't natural, that was supernatural. I have felt things. There was a haunted house that I explored when I was a late teen, and I walked into this place not knowing that it was the haunted house that everyone talked about. I heard about this place for years, and walked into it. Actually, I was still in the yard, and I got this terrible, terrible feeling. And then someone I was with said the name of the house, and I realized that this was the place that everyone had talked about for a long time. And but that's just a feeling. It's just a feeling, but nothing unexplainable. Nothing. And I know it's shocking, right? We're going to talk about lizard people later, but I'm not willing to say that I believe in ghosts. It's not that I disbelieve. It's just that most of the things that people say about ghosts strike me as silly, which brings up our next question. Power Level Appalachia. AskGribs, I used to live in a building that was on a haunted house registry. What is that? The Department of the Interior? Who does the National Historic Registry? I used to live in a building that was on a haunted house registry. We'd had amateur ghost hunters show us proof of orbs on our property all the time. As a professional photographer, does it bother you how much orb ghosts look exactly like idiots failing to clean their lenses in a dusty basement while shooting with forward flash? Yes. Yes, it does. Yes, I cannot begin to tell. I used to teach photography, and the amount of students that would show up and be like, "I found orbs in my photo," and I would be like, "No, that's just your flash reflecting off dust that's like 2 inches in front of your camera that you can't see, but it's illuminated with incredibly bright light relative to the lens." No, they never believed me. They believed themselves. I am an expert. I have a degree. These things are demonstrable. You can sprinkle flour or sugar or something in front of the lens, use the flash, and reproduce these orbs. Ghosts. I have produced 2 anomalies in my photographic career, both shot on film, So there's, there's some leeway in film. There's a lot more manufacturer error in film than there is in a digital sensor. And it's, if you have an error in a sensor, you're going to see it in every shot, whereas film scrolls through the camera, right? So you wouldn't if there was a manufacturer defect. So again, not saying this is evidence of anything, but I have experienced 2 anomalies that I cannot explain, and I will show them to you now. The first was a pinhole photograph, and so there actually is no lens, and of course, neither of these photos had flash. I generally don't use flash unless I'm shooting a wedding or something, and I absolutely have to, and I never, ever, ever use on-camera flash. In fact, I don't even own... I guess I could adapt one of my... Whatever. And I never use on-camera flash. That is not what is causing these anomalies. This is a pinhole photo, and there is an orb in it, and there's literally no technical reason that it should be there. And it is in the emulsion on the film. It wasn't something on the film, like stuck on the film. It is in the emulsion. It was exposed onto the film. And actually somebody, and I don't remember who it was, someone bought a print of this. Now, I showed this on the channel before. Somebody liked it a lot and bought a print of this image because of the orb. I cannot explain why it's there. No idea. The second photo is one that I took with a lensed camera, so it is a little more complex, but it was a camera from 1945. So it's not like, again, no flash, no nothing. It's literally, I think, a 5-element lens. And it was a photo of a mountain in the distance. And again, exposed onto the negative in the emulsion was this light that I did not see with my eyes while I was shooting the photo. Those are the only anomalies I have ever produced in my career. And honestly, it's the second one that's a little spookier. For whatever reason, you think it was like ball lightning or something? Like a little tiny, the tiniest bit of static discharge in the atmosphere? Because in the negative, it appears to be in the distance over by that mountain, and I don't know what would have done that. Now is an excellent time, if you like what you've just seen, to go check out my Patreon, where for $3 a month, you can get access to everything in here. For whatever reason, for whatever use that might have to you, you can have it. $3 a month, that's your buy-in. We talk about photography, we talk about music. A lot more music on there than photography lately, oddly enough, and other things that I get involved in. Go check it out. Rafa had asked Gribbs last time why Ryan Hall, why the veg is what was his exact wording, and I didn't know what that meant. Someone else answered the question. Ryan Hall started holding or biting fruit, which isn't a vegetable, on his podcast because there were fake AI videos of him out there. He does this to show it's the real deal. That was from Carolyn G5223, Carolyn Numbers. This is the world we live in. This is where you have to do silly things with food products to prove you are not compromised. At PRO says, no ghosts were filmed during the harming of this video, but we got an apparition for an ambassador. Shades of Tammy Faye Baker. Yeah. I'm going to have a case of the Haints tonight for sure. And then he says he prefers Ryan's streams, but Max Velocity is good too. I feel like Max is a little less reserved. And we're talking about tornadoes here. So like his rants about people that park under the overpasses, those are better than Ryan Hall's kind of really even delivery. I know that's why we like Ryan, is he's very even, and Max is a little more declarative. But it's a tornado. It's a tornado. We should be able to call out people being stupid in tornadoes. And then he says he's got a resource for good information if I want to send him a private message. And my response to that is, I don't think we've been able to send private messages on YouTube for years now. Is that a thing? Am I just missing this feature? But didn't they like make a big deal of turning it off? And so we soldier on in isolation, only able to leave comments under each other's videos. And at PRO, you don't have any videos. We'll have to figure this out. Well, going forward, you can reach me. Y'all got my digits. I'm smoking Beck's Old Limey Bastard in my Stanwell pot, which is one of my very favorite pipes. Try to get it in focus there. I don't want to do the zoom in thing. Fine, we'll zoom in. It's a Stanwell second, but man, is it a nice smoking pipe and very handsome if I do say so myself. Now I gotta refocus. Hang on. There we go. Okay. I remember the good old days in the YTPC when we could DM each other. That was how you sent someone your address when you were going to send them, I don't know, 10 pounds of tobacco that cost like $2.50 from Pipes and Cigars. Different world now. If I could sell all the tobacco I have for what I paid for it, I would seriously consider doing that. And I don't know, maybe it's worth more because a lot of it isn't made anymore, but old limey bastard, it's enough. I could smoke this for the rest of my life. So that's all the fun stuff out of the way. You remember how we used to talk about on this channel, speaking of nostalgic memories about my YouTube channel, we used to talk about QAnon and how crazy people were, that they believed that there was an evil cabal of elite people that secretly ran the country and did terrible, horrible, ritualistic things to children. Remember how that used to sound crazy? 100% that was a disinformation campaign to make the reality of what was going on seem crazy. Like when these stories start to come out, like, oh, what, you think the president of the United States was involved in a secret pedophile ring? What are you, a QAnon follower? Problem that I have now is that there are so many other crazy conspiracy theories that I completely dismissed. And I don't know anymore. This is how we get to lizard people. Last week, we covered the curious case of Callista Gingrich, who is apparently an AI hallucination brought to life by history's stupidest fascists. And this week, we cover whatever this is.
You have millions of Muslims in Saudi doing their annual Hajj at the end of this month, and that includes 30,000 Iranians. And so that plays into the calculus. Do you want to strike during Hajj, which is a very sacred Muslim month and activity, followed by Eid al-Adha? So,
what world are we living in? Explain to me what I'm looking at. And people have tried to explain it in other, it's a shadow being cast by his collar and his chin from opposing light sources. And that's why we see a gaping hole in his throat with a second throat underneath it, like a lizard's eyelid. I work in an industry where I have to light things all the time. That is not what's happening here. Okay, future Gribs here. I recorded the rest of this video and I said some really profound things about like the nature of truth and all that. And then I thought, if that actually was a shadow, I'm going to feel like a total ass. So let's find out. I do not have an ugly yellow tan blazer, but I do have a fitted black shirt and a collared black shirt. I even trimmed up my neck beard, even though it was hiding my pasty white middle-aged neck. I mean, honestly, if I could get away with it, I would wear a mask too. This is going to be embarrassing because I'm actually going to have to show you what my setup looks like, and the red paint on the garage door and the messy leaves and cables on the floor and all that. But this is my setup. This is what I use. I got a big umbrella there. This is what we like to call a camera. And then this is the field recorder that I use for a microphone. This is our control shot. This is what it looks like with no light at all. And for a fill light, now fill light is usually used to fill shadows. This is not rocket science. It's used to fill shadows. And for a fill light, we're going to use this vintage desk lamp. So normally we would fill this way. That's too much. That's too bright. Fortunately, my vintage desk lamp is so vintage that I can just break it and we'll hold it a little farther away. Now, if I were on Fox News, they'd probably put the main light, let's turn that down for a second. They'd probably put the main light here-ish, a little more central, okay? Don't have a lot of shadow under the chin, but maybe they would put it higher up. Let's try that. Hang on. Perfect. Yes, that looks great. What if we dial it back like that? Okay, can we create a shadow? Yeah, we can create a shadow right there. Sure. But you'll notice that as we create this shadow, my face still looks like I'm in a horror movie. I mean, so did the Fox News guest, but to a lesser degree. Now imagine this shirt is not as, maybe it's a little looser than mine is. So let's stretch it out a little bit there. Still can't make a giant gaping hole in my neck. Okay, that didn't work. New plan. Okay, this is a little more significant here. What if they had two fill lights that we're creating? Oh, look at that. What if we do this? Yak, blah, blah, blah. No, we should definitely go to war with Iran. I think President Trump is right. What if we have both lights coming from under the collar? Sort of. I can definitely see how people could say that this is where this came from, but nothing I'm doing now would actually make me think that I'm wearing a mask. Even if we try to balance it back out with the main light, any light that is dramatic enough to cause these shadows is going to be very, very evident on my face, like right up my nose. Is there enough leeway in this experiment, like things are different enough in a Fox News studio, that Occam's razor says this was probably a lighting issue and not a mask? In a normal world, what am I doing? In a normal world, I would say yes. In the world that we're living in, I don't know. Like, that's the problem. We're now living in a world where Occam's razor declares the simplest explanation for all the phenomena that we see is that these are reptilians from Alpha Centauri. Like, wouldn't that be the more comfortable explanation at this point? After all we have been through, wouldn't it actually make you feel better when you think about Trump and Kellyanne Conway and Zuckerberg and Stephen Miller and Elon Musk, and you think, how can human beings act this way? They can't. You know who can? Lizard people. That's who can act this way. This has been Future Gribs, now back to Past Gribs and his profound ponderings on the death of truth. We have crossed the Rubicon. There is no coming back. Even setting aside the AI thing, you can't trust that the person you're watching on TV is not wearing an ultra-realistic mask. Because then, as an aside, you get into the whole idea of like, man, if you're going to go to all the trouble to put on this uber-realistic mask, and even if, and this is honestly what is probably the most likely explanation, is this guy had a bunch of plastic surgery on his neck and was too vain to wear a turtleneck or a bandage. If you did that, why would you leave your shirt unbuttoned? I think there's a legitimate argument to be made that they wanted us to see this because it further destabilizes the idea of an objective truth. So you go through the layers of cynicism. First, you start thinking, yeah, Fox is they're a right-leaning news outlet. Then Kellyanne Conway came along in 2015 or 16 or whatever, and we learned about alternative facts. So we're to this next level of cynicism, and now we realize the business model is not necessarily pushing an agenda, because smart people would never fall for anything that they're saying. They're not pushing an agenda. They are destabilizing the idea that you can know anything. How do you live in this world? How do you believe anything ever again? Thank you, Past Gribs, for sharing your very troubling and legitimate concerns. But don't worry, I'm from the future, and everything has turned out fine. Oh, shit.